Thank you for joining me today. Well, this is the Tuesday, May the 25th edition of our video devotionals, and we appreciate you being with us today. Hopefully your Tuesday's going well, and if it's a little bit of a slow start, then maybe our devotion can help you today, okay? Well, we started yesterday. Our theme is basically Joshua the soldier, and we were in Joshua chapter 1 yesterday, and we talked about be strong and of a good courage. 4 times specifically mentioned that about Joshua. So he's now the new leader of the children of Israel, and the big job, of course, is to get the land that God has brought them to. So today we're going to be in chapter 2. We won't get very far this week in the book of Joshua because it seems like every chapter you go to is just rich with things. So we're not really going to summarize the book of Joshua. Just be no way. We're going to be talking about some things related, of course, to Joshua and the soldier, because Memorial Day is coming up on this coming Monday. And we just want to kind of highlight some things that deals with how God saw soldiering and the character of it and the leadership aspect of it too. Okay? All right, so we're going to be in chapter 2 today. And I know if you've been in church any length of time, you're kind of familiar with the story of Rahab the harlot and the visits that she had from the 2 men that were sent there. So we're going to kind of go through this and read a little bit more than normal. And I know it takes a little bit of time to do that, so we'll go ahead and jump into it again. Thank you for all who watch these videos. We appreciate you very much. But let's go ahead and jump into Joshua chapter 2. It says that Joshua the son of Nun sent out of Shittim 2 men to spy secretly, saying, "Go view the land, even Jericho." They went and came into an harlot's house named Rahab and lodged there. We're going to skip through a lot of this. So basically she's there, of course, and then the conversation goes on. And it says in verse 11, "And as soon as we had heard these things, our hearts did melt." The things, of course, is how God was bringing the children of Israel this particular way, especially coming out of Egypt. All right? "And as soon as we had heard these things, our hearts did melt, neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and in earth beneath." And let's just stop for a minute. Contrast that with what we talked about yesterday, in case you weren't. We talked about the Lord commanded Joshua, "Be strong and of a good courage." 4 different times he told Joshua, now what you've got to do when it comes to inheriting the land, standing before the people, when you give the commands that I've given you, then they've got to follow those. He says, and what you've got to make sure you've got to understand is you've got to be strong and of a good courage. Now contrast that with the idea that as this lady is speaking to these 2 spies of God's people, she's saying, we've heard all this going on. We've heard about this. And what happened to us when we heard about this, it says our hearts did melt. There remained no more courage in any man. We didn't have any courage. Isn't that something? Isn't it amazing how that when people know about God and they see God's people and God working through them, there is something about that causes them to kind of flee away from maybe all the bragging and some of the things that people will say about God or even God's people. There comes a time when God says, look, when I'm doing something and I'm using my people to do it, then there's something about that people, they lose this so-called courage that they have. And the very fact that they're recognizing that the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and in earth beneath. Now you're talking about people that didn't know God, and then they start seeing God work through his people. Bear in mind, he sees these people that God is blessing and honoring and using. And that's what we want in our life, of course. So as we skip down, basically she's saying, look, you're going to come through here and you're going to defeat this city, Jericho. She said, but I want you to spare me and my family, if you will. They made that a kind of a contract, so to speak, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later about the actual battle that occurs. But the point is, as they're having this discussion and the promises given, as we get down to verse 23 and 24, notice this. It says, "So the men returned and descended from the mountain and passed over and came to Joshua the son of Nun and told him all things that befell them." So they're coming back giving the report, of course, to Joshua, the leader. We'll call him the general, just in terms of a soldier, in terms of a soldier aspect. And notice verse 24, the last verse of chapter 2. "And they said unto Joshua, Truly the Lord hath delivered into our hands all the land, for even all the inhabitants of the country do faint because of us." They said, look, we talked to this lady, and these people, they're rattled. They're scared. There's something about them that they understand that the God of all the earth is helping these people. And what chance do we have? That's why they are, to use the term faint, they're scared, no courage. But here's the phrase I want to zero in on and not take much time to do it. As these two spies are telling Joshua these news, of course, he's the general here. This is what they say: truly the Lord hath delivered into our hands all the land. In other words, the battle's not even been fought. There's not been a shot fired, as we use that expression. An arrow shot, I guess, should be the. In other words, the battle's not even begun. We've not amassed our army. Basically, we've not even gotten up there to confront them yet. And these two men say, look, the Lord has already delivered these people into our hand. Now, that's the attitude. You know, if Joshua sent them over there to see what's going on, the idea was not to say, can we do it? Because God says, oh, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. But if nothing else, here's one lady and her family that's going to be spared from the conflict that's going to occur, all that's going to happen there. And because she's pretty much honoring God's people and honoring God in the fact that saying, I'm not going to turn you into the authorities. I'm not going to tell them you're here. She hid them, of course. So the point I'm making is they're saying before the battle's ever started. They're not saying after the battle. Boy, isn't it great that God delivered these people? There's no battle yet. And they're already saying, truly the Lord hath delivered into our hands all the land. Now that's the way we need to look at all the things that God has for us. God's going to do it. I like when people say, Lord, I'm thanking you for what you've done, and I'm thanking you for what you're going to do. Because that's exactly when God says, I'm going to do it, then God's going to do it. And there's many things we could bring into this, but look, when it comes to the things that God wants you to conquer in your life, God wants you to do for Him. Waging the battles for the Lord, winning people to the Lord, and all the obstacles and all the satanic oppression that comes to poor lost people not getting saved because of all that's kind of there, and yet we come in with God's power and God's might, the Spirit of God. And God says there's things you're going to do. And I just love the fact those spies says they're already delivered, and the battle hadn't even begun. So that's the attitude, because that's the kind of belief we need to have in God. And thank God for that. Thank God that Joshua, he had that mindset, and he had people that followed him with that mindset. That's important, having followers that believe the same way. And so God uses that kind of a team. So thank God for it. We hope you have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow as we talk more about Joshua, and we hope you have a great day.